right, here is a look at Hasbro's Generations Arcee, which I know has been a long time coming for lots of people. It is a G1-esque Arcee in deluxe robot form, official from Hasbro with an Autobot logo and everything. She comes with her own little special cover of their, War? Geez, what part? Shockwave's big thing. It's actually the last chapter of that whole arc. And what was that called? Oh, Dark Cybertron. There we go. I knew it was Cybertron something. That ends with, I don't want to spoil anything there, but yeah, it's the last issue of Dark Cybertron before they split back into, before Robots in Disguise and More Than Meets the Eye went back into their own separate storylines. So, some stuff in there goes down. So here's Arcee in her hyper-weaponized, not allowable for 80s kids car of death mode. She has swords, kind of like the animated version, and she's got 2 pistols. That can store on her car mode. You don't have to. They're not permanently attached. You can just pop them off. And what you're left with is, it does have wheels, but it's very reminiscent of her old pink hover car from the G1 cartoon. And her vehicle mold, I keep saying mold, vehicle mode is, I think, pretty great. I think they did a really bang-up job here with that. I think I rotate these arms wrong. You're supposed to go on there somewhere. They don't seem to peg in anywhere, which is a shame, but the arms go in here. So yeah, so there he is. You can kind of see how she transforms underneath here. But yeah, nice little car. He's got rolly wheels. They do seem to be just the peg-on type of wheels. Oh, this one is pinned on up here, so that's nice. And a couple little seats, a little fin back here. That fin doesn't look like it's snapped in all the way. There we go. So yeah, a nice little pink racer. Her transformation is fairly straightforward. I just want to come under here. I just want to lift this whole bonnet up, fold this up like that, and untab her legs. And then something that a lot of people I've seen haven't gotten all the way done. Once you fold them down, you want to collapse her hips all the way into her body. I've seen a lot of pictures that have her with her hips out here. But fold her hips all the way down in. Collapse them together, flip up her feet. And then her arms, her shoulders come down into the main body here like this. Just like that. And then up here, you lift this up, unpeg just this, right here where this groove is, unpeg just this front section from here. And then lift this piece all the way down and around. You can see that forms her chest and front of her abdomen. And there's her head. And this whole piece comes down and kind of sits down. This comes down to form her backpack. Then this piece, you can see where the shoulder pieces snap into there. And then this whole thing folds down, pegs into her front, and her head snaps back into here. And there's her robot mode. And it's a nice Arcee robot mode. It is very backpacky. There's a huge backpack here, and that bugged me a lot in a lot of the initial pictures. It's less egregious, I guess, in person. When you look at her from the front and see her kind of slim figure, and then this giant square of a backpack, it's a little off-putting. It's not as horrible from the side as I expected. It was obviously smaller in the animation. They had to make some leeways. I'm still not a huge fan of it, but it's bugging me less in person than I thought it was going to, which is always a bonus. Now, she has her weapons. You can store, according to the instructions, her swords on her legs if you want to have them stored down there. She can hold them in her hand as swords. If you really want to be silly, you can take the end of the sword and plug it in up here under her thing to give her shoulder swords. But that's just me being a goofball. Same with her guns. You can technically, there's a couple posts under here. You can store them under here. I guess maybe in vehicle, well, no, in vehicle mode that wouldn't work. If I say if these had pegs on the side, maybe in vehicle mode you'd snap them up here under the front wheels, but that doesn't really work that way. But yeah, so she's got guns. Now, this is, as you can see, this is the open-handed version. And I've made a modification to one hand just to show you what I'm talking about. Now, there are two versions of this out on the shelves, and I don't know which one is the original and which one is the remold. I assume the closed fist version is the remold for structural issues, but who knows how it will go. I'm almost positive the closed fist version is the restructure, or the the revision, because her open hands, you can see on this hand, it goes all the way through, and I can plug her gun in, and it goes all the way through her hand, and she can hold it like a regular pistol. On this hand, there's a little piece, there's a mold down here that just kind of a little ridge on the bottom of her hand. And it's there for structural integrity because she's got very thin fingers, and you don't want, they obviously don't want those to break. So if you do this mod, at your own risk. The closed fist version, the fingers go all the way around, and that ridge is missing because there's less likely for it to break. But that ridge prevents the gun from going any further down than that. So she can still, within this variation, she can still hold her guns, but they sit up really high and they look a little silly. Unless you shave that ridge down. It's a very simple matter. Just get just the tip of an X-Acto knife and just kind of shave this ridge down until the gun can go all the way through like this. Because you'll see over here, this gun that can only go halfway down over there can go all the way through her hand and looks more natural in her fist. So, again, easy to do. Do be careful if you do it. You don't want to shave off too much. And if you do it, it does leave, you can see some of this plastic fairly thin down here. So there is the possibility that if you're not careful with putting your weapons in and out of her hands, you could break those fingertips off. To me, it's worth. I don't know how often I'm going to be pulling guns in and out of her hands. I don't think it's a substantial risk for me, but just be aware of it if you decide to do that modification. Now, quick comparison. Now, here she is with MMC's Azalea, and you can see those two together. I do still like Azalea. Azalea, I think, is a great representation of IDW's Arcee. It still has the futuristic hover car mode, not wheeled, but it does sway a little bit from the stray a little bit. That's the word I was looking for, from the G1 design. It has much less of a backpack here, as you can see, and still retains the shoulder pauldrons, but if you're looking for a good old school G1 Arcee, this really is the one you want to get. I like them both. I think they both fill different gaps in my collection. I've got these guys, all of the Azalea and Zinnia and those remolds with the Titanium Saint Alpha Trion version that came out on my shelf, and they look great together. But just to compare those two in hand, here she is with Generation Springer. And she seems a little small compared to Springer with these two figures. Again, I think Azalea fits that scale much nicer, much better. But she's not so far off that it's like, oh my God, why would you put those two on a shelf together? So there she is with Voyager Springer. So yeah, thank you to Panzer Jedi on Twitter for hooking me up with this. I always appreciate it. He found one and shipped it over to me, and I was looking forward to checking her out. I just haven't found her in store yet, so I was glad to get an opportunity to nab one. But yeah, there is Generations Deluxe Arcee.